Hey, what's up, everyone? I'm Rassam Bahati, U.S. 10-time national champion. I want to welcome you to my channel. And if you haven't yet, like and subscribe, hit that bell. I plan to do a lot of these. I love cycling. I got to get more consistent in knocking these videos out. They take time, but I do love all things bike. So I hope you like this. Share it, subscribe, and enjoy. So this was last Tuesday at the Eldorado Park Crit, which is held in the city of Long Beach, on actually a really beautiful park out in Long Beach. I don't know how big it is in square footage or even miles, but it's pretty big. It's a popular place for people to hang out, fish, kind of like day camp. Lots of beautiful big trees. You can just hang out, and we come in on Tuesdays, interrupt the peace, and have some bike racing. So I had just got back in town late Sunday from a 7-day ride that I did from Houston to New Orleans. The ride itself was only 6, but I did a ride the day before with a bunch of riders out of Houston actually that enjoyed me coming into town. A lot of them never met me in person, so it was super humbling to go out there and do a 100K ride with them in the fucking heat. It was so hot and humid. And then started the Tour de Rouge the next day, which we were raising money for the ARC Foundation for intellectual disabilities in adults and children. That was a really fun ride. We averaged about 90 miles a day average over 6 days. So I took Saturday off. I took Sunday off. I even took Monday off. So 3 days no bike. I got to Eldo a little early and did a 45-minute warm up just along the riverbed into like Seal Beach area. And then, yeah, race started. John Jennick, right in front of me, number 48, strong rider. He attacked. Not really attack. He just kind of rolled off the front, and I decided that I was going to follow. Which I typically don't do this. I typically don't go with an early move. If you look to the right hand corner, my beats per minute on my heart rate is saying 161, which is fairly high for for me. Being it's the first lap as well, but whatever. I felt let's see how the legs respond to being out on the road for the last 7 days. Riding fairly not hard, but it was a moderate pace every day. We had actually a really solid group of guys and girl that pretty much rotated every day for 6 days. The same players. I took one day off and rode with some of my friends and didn't ride too hard. Just had a handful of friends from LA that participated in the ride, raised the money. So on our shortest day, which was 78 miles, I decided to just chill with them. We did that ride in about 5 hours, very scenic. We got into like the heart of Louisiana with I think they call it the Chinese moss trees. Is it Chinese moss? But anyway, I got a chance to visit the Tabasco farm. That was pretty cool, where they make the Tabasco sauce. But anyway, yeah, that move didn't last long. I think he was just kind of testing the waters, and my legs kind of expanded a little bit. And if you look towards the front, there is a move that is just going off. And at this point, I'm just like, you know what? Let me drift back to the back, assess who's all here. Let me see the players. It's good to know who you're racing. You know what I mean? Um, I'll tell you this: every time we come through this part of the course, it's one of the bumpiest sections of the course, and you have a cross headwind. So if you're going 28, 29, 30, at this point 32 miles an hour, we're going pretty hard. As you enter this last straightaway right here, this is the straight to the finish. From that corner, it's about 300 meters. We have a flag up right at about 250 roughly. We kind of eyeball it. You do get a tailwind, and it's usually extremely fast through this section. Um, and as you can tell, we're strung out 34 miles an hour, and I'm barely on the pedals because my watts are very low. And so as you approach turn one right here, the wind is now coming from my left hand side. And so you will notice I'm always trying to protect myself from the wind. I don't take it for granted that the wind is out there. And it's one of those things like the wind, if you don't respect it towards the end of the race, it could hurt you. Uh, it's also, one of those things where we don't get a lot of echelons here in the United States just because we don't have big open roads where you can put guys in the gutter and really utilize Mother Nature to disrupt the field. However, on this section right here, which is pretty long straightaway, and we have some rough road as well. You will see like my computer bouncing all over the place. When we're going fast, and certain guys put it to the right hand side in the gutter, you will see the back of the field starting to splinter, and this section is only probably about 30 seconds long, 40 seconds long. So just imagine if it was like 4 or 5 minutes long, and you can put the group in the gutter and really and hurt everybody. So even though it's a short section, I still use it as a place to save energy. I don't take it for granted. So I decided to use a different angle on my computer. I typically ride it on my helmet, and then I got tired of having it on my helmet because you do feel the weight of the GoPro on your head. I'm very aware when I race, so I move my head around a lot. Then I put it under my handlebars, and that's kind of cool too. But you miss out on a lot of that kind of over that bird's eye view. It's hard to get because it's under the handlebar. So yeah, I just tried it, putting it on the stem. So this is the first time actually rocking like this. Y'all can let me know if you like it or not, if I should keep it there, if I should go back to the helmet, or under the bars, or maybe suggest something else. I don't know. But I have plenty of mounts I could play around with, and I've been having some issues with my GoPros. I'm using the GoPro 9. I have 4 of them. Look, here's just 2 sitting at my desk right now. And I have 2 more where this came from. But they always give me issues lately. I gotta like tinker with it, so maybe time to bump it up and go to the latest, which I think is the 11, which I heard the image of the 11 is absolutely great. So here we are again. We're going fast. Like this is good. My heart rate is 171. My max heart rate right now is about 181. So this is because from the 6-7 days of riding, though I did a lot of endurance, I didn't do a lot of speed. So like my body's been kind of on chill mode, and I'm riding behind Eli from Bros Ride Bikes, which is incredible, man. Honestly, I met Bros Ride Bikes just, I think, maybe under or over 2 years ago now, and to see how fast Jack and Eli have progressed in the sport, it's pretty amazing. To be 100% candid too, you have to be very cautious of that spurt that happened so fast. And this is talking from experience. I was a junior. I was their age. I was 11 when I got into it. I was 13 when I started 14 when I started racing on the road. And there were kids who just were like much bigger than me, much stronger, much faster, because their spurt was so drastic. It happened really fast. And then the ones that were a little slower, like myself, just we stayed at it, and then we blossomed. So I just I do keep an eye on them. I know they love doing epic, big rides. 150 miles. I don't know if they've done like anything bigger than that, but I know Eli was the youngest person to do the Belgian Waffle out in San Marcos a few years ago. I believe he was 12 or 11 years old, which is insane. I wouldn't suggest that, to be honest with you. I think it's maybe okay to do it once, but even at 13, 14, even 16 years old. You don't need to be riding over, you know, honestly 80 miles. But that's just me if I was the coach, because I am concerned about burnout. But let's get back to the race. The race is going, and I like using, even though Eldo is a legitimate bike race, you got to sign up, you got to have a license, you pay a fee, you get a number, points go towards your license. I still use this. I race it to win, but I also race it to lose, and I don't care about losing. I don't have the same attitude if I were going to another race like Tour de Marietta or Dairyland or something like that. I don't race to lose. Here, I race to win and I race to lose. It's like, it's okay if I don't win here. I have a couple teammates, and I'm always trying to just really use this Tuesday as a day where I can just bury myself, put myself into a hole, get a little uncomfortable, and really just ride hard. So this is actually the Cat 4-5 field that we have lapped. The course is fairly big, so the way we run our event is that we can have 2 to 3 events on the course max, and oftentimes we do laps. So this is what you send right now. That got a little hairy because I didn't know which way they were going. I have no rear view facing camera, as you can see, but I did feel someone on my wheel. I didn't turn around to see exactly who it was because I was pretty committed. But I finally flicked him through, and he came through without an issue and helped pull. But the field, as I look back, was in like full-on chase mode. They weren't going to let just us two stay out there, which is funny too because it's hard to stay out at Eldo. I mean, there have been times where some really strong riders are off the front, like 5 or 6 guys, and all you need is about 3 really good riders in the field to bring them back. And it may take a couple laps, but if you go full noise, you could bring them back. It is hard. It is really hard to stay out at Eldo, and it happens sometimes. So I wasn't there 2 weeks ago because I was riding to New Orleans, and a break actually made it. And I believe one of the Jack from Bros Ride Bikes made that break, along with one of we have a visitor from the UK who's been out for the last couple of weeks riding, and he was also out there. So, you know, when I leave, shit hits the fan. What can I say? But yeah, it's very rare, but people try all the time, and I love that about Eldo is that, you know, for the most part, people are out there getting a little busy. So there he is again. I was trying to really, I don't know, just kind of like establish a break and pull a little longer, so he could help me stay out there. But like I said, the field was in full chase mode, and there they are. I just let the watch drop. The field is happy to slow up right now. As you can see, it's kind of shattered everywhere, and this is kind of like, this is the part of the races where, like, when you're hurting and you want to quit. I always tell people, when you're hurting and you want to quit, a lot of other people are hurting too, so don't quit, because as soon as you quit is when the peloton slows down. You ever had that happen to you? You're like, all right, I don't have any more, so you just stop. You know, you have mentally checked out. The legs are still there, trust me. You have mentally checked out, and then as soon as you mentally check out, you look up the road and the field goes like this, right? So always dig a little deeper. You can always go a little deeper. If you've never ridden to the part where, like, you're getting ready to black out, or you're cross-eyed, or your feet hurt, or like you on the rivet, the tip of your saddle, almost about to make a mistake with that tip, you haven't rode hard enough. So try it. It's good for you. One of the things I also love doing here is when it goes slow, like now we're like in this regroup phase, is to just keep going again. I remember probably around like 2000, between like 2006 and 2010, I would say I had really good legs. Oh, I remember what's going on here. So this is a Cat 4-5 field, and I forget who it was, but someone came up to me and said, hey, we should neutralize because the Cat 4-5 field are finishing. So out of respect for them, to give them space, we actually neutralized our race because they're finishing on this lap right now. So that's what you saw happen there. We just had complete respect for what they were doing and give them space to finish. And that's really what it's about out there, too, is just like communication. I forget who came up to me, but that was a good call because we were kind of in between of going hard and slow. So now that they have their gap, I think I yell like game on or something like that. And yeah, they're back at it. Right in front of me is my old teammate from Rock Racing. That's Austin Carroll. I remember when I first met him as a teammate. I raced against him before we were teammates. I just remember that he raced hard, and every time he got off the bike, it looked like he went to hell and back. It's like, like he looked like he really gave everything. And I gotta respect that because like I grew up in an era where I always say this like if you like football like me, you remember like the Bad News Bears or like not even the Bad News Bears. That's a movie. I don't know what I'm trying to say is like remember the hardcore like football players. They call them on the gridiron. They just show up like they have teeth knocked out, and I just felt like these were grown men coming to work. And the era I grew up in, oftentimes I was the youngest person on the team, but like I had a good example of what it meant to work hard. I had a good example of what it meant to give everything for your teammate. I had good examples of how to be a professional. I'm not in the professional ranks anymore, but from the outside looking in, I don't see that seriously. And we always have this friendly debate about picking a team from like the Health Net days, the United Healthcare days, the United days, Navigators, Mercury, Saturn, all these like if you could pick guys from each two of those teams, three of those teams, and put them up against today's talent, hands down, the old school talent will smash them. Hands down. Hands down. And I always bring up a couple people. Y'all can look them up because you probably don't know them. Some of you would know them. But I say, name me one rider in the Peloton, in the U.S. Peloton, not Europe. We're talking about U.S. Name one rider in the U.S. Peloton that can go blow for blow with a Carl Menzies. We'll come back to that. Look him up. Carl Menzies, Australian. But yeah, back on the front again. Like I said, always trying to ride hard. That's Nazid. So Nazid in the pink is a junior that we actually took the Steamboat Gravel last year. Really, really good kid. Man, we have a solid group of riders. And let me tell you this too. This is one of the biggest pro 1-2 fields. I'm not even gonna say pro. There's no pros out there. This is the biggest 1-2 field that we have been seeing in a long time. So Eldo has been going on for 40 plus years, and originally it was renegade style. It's just one group. It don't matter what category you are. You come, and it'll be 150 people. Rest in peace to Roger Milliken. When he took over, he implemented groups. And so that's where you started getting numbers and separating by category. It moved on to Suzanne Saulnier's mom, Marilyn. Marilyn ran it like a lieutenant, on time, no BS. And then it went to Chris Lotz. Chris Lotz, some of you may have known, that used to run. I don't think it was called CBR back then. Maybe it was. But the Carson course that most of us raced, Chris Lotz was running that along with Veer and running this, Eldo, and then it went over to Mr. Crawford, and then we took over just before the pandemic. So I love this part of the race because this is one of the hardest parts of the course, and going 33 miles an hour over this crappy road, headwind, slight little bump in the road, it gets me excited because we're racing. We're not out there just looking around. And I don't know. It's something about Eldo that just gets me excited. Sometimes in the middle of the day, I don't even feel like getting up to go to Eldo. And then you get out there, the vibe is great, the music is great. Everyone from, checking us in to making sure we start on time with our chief official, Steve. It's like always a good vibe. You know, the women are coming out, they're showing out. We used to have maybe one or two women every night, and then they raised their voice and said we want to have our own category, so we start slowly doing things to help them build their community. But for the most part, we just gave them a platform and they built their own community, and they're actually showing up in numbers, which is amazing, along with the juniors. So super proud of that. And yeah, this race has been it's been on and cracking. Look, my heart rate is still at 163. I had a long conversation with someone over Twitter Rouge about RPMs. If you notice, you're not going to catch my RPMs probably over 95 to 100. Um, when the speeds are high, like what's the point of spinning? Maybe you can answer that for me. Some of you like to spin these really high cadence when the speeds are, 28 to 30 plus miles an hour. Tell me why you think that's good. Maybe you have a good excuse for it, and we could talk about it, but you can leave a comment below about that. You will notice you will not catch my RPMs over I'm pretty sure about 95. Now I'll tell you this: if this was a road race and we have this going on, undulating roads, and we're on the flats going 30, and all of a sudden, boom, you got a big hill to go up, you will see 95, 100, 105, because I do my best to use my momentum to get over hills and not get into the point where I'm struggling. So let's say a hill is 60 seconds long and we're coming into it at 20 plus miles an hour. I'm going to use my momentum and my gears to keep the momentum going uphill. As soon as I feel that drag starting to come, I either may click down and stand up, meaning a harder gear, or I'll go up the spectrum to an even lighter gear and try to keep that leg speed and momentum up. But it's totally different in a crit. Crit is all speed, so you have to be mindful of RPMs. And I'm going to pick on the women for a second. I noticed that women don't use bigger gears as the speed gets faster. They kind of stay in that same gear, and you can only go so fast. I'll give you an example. For those of you who drive a motorcycle or a manual car, you wouldn't be on the freeway in the fast lane in third gear. You know what I mean? As the speed gets higher, as the traffic opens up and you're going from second gear to third gear to fourth gear, the reason you go to fifth and sixth is because now you're going 70, 80, 90 miles an hour. Maybe not 90, but you know what I'm trying to say. So it's really the same scenario. You can't just stay in third gear when the speeds are 70 miles an hour. No, you're going to go to fourth, slide over to fifth, and hit sixth, and you're going to. So anyway, that's my spiel there. Let's get back to the race. I keep getting distracted here. ADD. What's going on here? Not sure what's been transpiring. I've just been talking a lot. I need to pay attention to the race. But as you can see, I'm riding closer to the front of the race now. I think my teammate, Eric usually doesn't spend much time at Eldo because he lives like on the other side of the hill, kind of far away. But he decided to come out this time and race with us, which is cool because Eric is one of those guys that he'll just give it his all. He never races for himself, which is always a good trait in a teammate. And for some reason, he's just drilling it right here. Yeah, this is a lot of fun, man. I enjoy every minute of when we're going hard. And like, there's been a couple times here at Eldo where some really, really strong riders show up, and like we'll be in this scenario right here, and then they come through and go even faster. And then this is when like I test myself. It's like I'm on the rivet and I'm just like holding on for dear life, trying to figure out if I can hold on, trying to figure out if they're going to slow up. I posted a video probably a month ago now where I explained like I was on the verge of really giving up. And remember what I talked about earlier? It's like when you want to give up, you just got to dig another 30, 45, 50 seconds. And I guarantee you, for the 9 times out of 10, is going to slow up and you'll stay in there. So yeah, about a month ago, that was actually a scenario for me. It was just like literally getting ready to be cross-eyed, like, and I just hung in there and I was able to hold on. And then the lap is so big too that you can recover. Um, so Sharon had just attacked here and took a couple guys, and I was like, all right, he's going to be isolated, especially if he gets up the road by himself. He's a track rider, got a little bit of power underneath him, I believe. He's more like endurance slash sprint, but I think more on the sprint side. So I didn't want him to go up there by himself. But as you can see, no one really wants to ride with Sharon, myself, and for the most part, Eric. Eric on our team. Eric can ride, and he could also sprint. He's pretty savvy, for a guy who likes to ride fairly hard. So he's like, if you can compare him to like someone back in the day who I used to love watching is like Vinokurov. So remember I was telling you about the British guy. He's on the front right now. He's in town for a while. I hope he comes back out. He's pretty strong, and it really helps mix up the dynamic at Eldo. Just bringing in new faces, people you really don't know. But when I got here, when I got to the race this Tuesday, Sharon was like, the guy from the UK, he's strong, watch him. So it's like, you need that, and it pushes us because their style of racing over in the UK is different versus ours, and it's good to kind of get that feeling. So right now, I don't spend much time just riding on the front just to ride on the front. Even if I think it's training or not, I try not to have useless pulls. So right here, I'm just sitting and kind of waiting. Of course, you can't see my head, but I look between my arms a lot. I'm trying to feel for the swarm. I'm just trying to paying attention. This is a preem lap, and I had no interest in going for the preem. I mean, it's our money that we're putting up. I can't steal our money. So this was perfect, and I'll tell you why. So those three guys right there in front of me are really good. And my goal was to continue to follow and then counter. And so no one was really moving. And so I decided not to do it. But then look, one team, three guys right there, all on the same team, comes to the front. And I'm like, all right, if one of them goes, this is perfect. I'll go with them and then like really keep the power on. There's Austin on the front, Brandon right there in the blue. We'll talk about him later, but he's a really good rider to have in cahoots with you if you want to break away. I'll tell you that much. Yeah, so as you can see, the race has been going on. I believe we averaged 28 last Tuesday, which is not too shabby for over a mile course. And I bet you if you look at some of the numbers from the local crits on Sundays, maybe they're doing 28, 29, maybe slower. I'll have to look. So speaking of Brandon, he had the same idea that I had. You hit them when they're down. So he just hit three of the best guys in the group right after a preem. They went all in for the money preem. He's out of the saddle for a while, and really established a break. Little flick of the elbow. I look back. We have one or maybe two other riders. I try to keep the momentum, and honestly, his attack kind of hurt me a little bit. I didn't feel that comfortable. Heart rate's at 175 right now. I'm at 90 RPM, so I'm not that comfortable yet. So, all right, they brought a big team right in front of me. Brandon is on his own. I have two riders behind me, and I'm like, this could be all right, because now two of the bigger teams that are at Eldo are now off the front. So you're always looking at like combinations, right? Who's who. But oftentimes too, it can't just be the team. It's got to be the right person from that team. So boom, we've got a nice little split here. Sorry I don't have a rear view facing camera, because we went from being in the field to being, right now we're already about 15 seconds off the front. This is a good, this turn right here, turn 3, is a good place to look back. and see the gap, because you can see straight back down that straightaway. Um, so yeah, this is good. And I told him right here, the Pats guy who just took his chop, he's very consistent and very smooth, and I like that about him. No big surges. So when you're off the front, you know, in the first, I don't know, the first 5 minutes, you're trying to figure out if you actually can make this thing stick, right? So you're you're not really teammates yet, but once you get a nice gap, let's just call it 30 seconds, now you have to become more of a unit. You have to become a team. You got to look out for each other. Make sure you're pulling off to the right side. Make sure you're putting your body in position that helps protect the rider behind you from the wind, so we can work together and stay out there. So I think maybe 1 or 2 laps in, I started to encourage them, you know, to make the right moves when it comes to pulling off and making sure we're not surging. And yeah, so at this point, I saw Velo Pasadena rider Daniel Beltran, who left our team. Sucker, not for real. It's all good. He came across, and when you come across to a break like this, we're going 30 plus miles an hour. You know what? I know what it feels like. So it was okay for me to give him a break. He was allowing all of us to get back in, and so it's kind of funny. Um, as we approach turn one up here, I don't consider this turn one. It's actually when we get up to the end of this parking lot. Um, After I take my pull, so I'm up next, right? And I'm just like, all right, it's time for Daniel to actually pull now. And so no free rides around here. But I know what it's like to go across your break. You do need, unless you're just absolutely on fire, you do need a break, you know. And most of the time, the people in front of you will be like, all right, no problem. So everyone already had given him a free ride. Everyone has taken at least 1 or 2 chops. So I take my chop right here and I pull off. And I look back and I see him like opening the gap, and I'm just like, dude, we already gave you a break. Like, everyone gave you a break. He's like, I just got here. I was like, yeah, but everyone already gave you a pull, so it's time to get in there. So kind of forced his hand a little bit, but he's a strong rider, and you can see he pushes a really big gear, which is, it's hard to do on a break sometimes. You would notice when I'm in the break, specifically when I'm on the wheel, I'm just trying to find that right gear. It's not one gear that works. The downside of pushing a big gear is that, like, when attacks come, it takes you longer to follow that move. So I probably charge my battery a lot because I'm always playing with my shifters, with my gears. You know, when I feel like an attack is coming, I go into a gear where I could, you know, potentially follow. So here I am just trying to explain, look, we got to do this thing right. You know, we have to follow the right wheels. We have to ride the course the right way, protect each other from the wind. So that's just what I was explaining here. But for the most part, I thought the group was doing pretty good. We lost a lot of speed right here. You can see we're going 25, 26. We should be going about 28, 29 through here. So maybe we should have given Daniel an extra lap, because I think he was a little tired and slowed us down a little bit. But we did kind of get our groove back. Like I said, the Pats guy right here, he's pretty consistent, pretty steady, which is good for when you're in a break. So you can see he brought the speed up from 25 to 28, and I'm telling you right now, this is one of the hardest parts of the course. You can't see it on this video, but it goes up ever so slightly, and then you're just exposed. The wind is just coming at you. It's like a side cross headwind, and it's super bumpy too. We're trying to get the park to fix the roads, but you know, we'll keep working on that. When they do, Lord have mercy, Eldo's gonna be like crazy fast. Um, I ride tubeless, and I actually lower my PSI, which people know. Uh, People know that I like to pump the PSI like past the suggested PSI on tubeless. the soft, like squishy feeling. Not a big fan of. Um, but yeah, I usually come down a little bit when I'm here at Eldo because of the bumps. So we're pretty deep into the race right now. I think we're about 40 minutes in, and so this break is looking good. I mean, we have a decent gap. Um, no one is really. I mean, I can't see that far behind us, but I don't really see anyone close. And I just know that we have to stay on the gas. Like if we can average 27, 28 each lap, I don't think we're going to get caught. So that's why you see me just trying to keep that pressure on, so we stay off the front. Um, because we're getting close to the end, and so you don't want to be off the front and then get caught with 2 laps to go, even though that still gives us about 3 miles to recover. That's a big task. So we had a hard time really making it stick because we were not that consistent, but still had some good riders in the move. So I was content with what was going on. But again, like dropping below 28 is just, I just know the group, and there was a lot of good riders behind us. So if we're below 28, I started to have this intuition that we weren't going to make it, because we would need to average about 28, like I said, to have a chance. So I believe, if I remember right, the group is starting to get a little closer, because I remember looking back and seeing Daniel kind of dangle like, they're close. As you're in that in between phase where you're like, should I continue to pull? They're so close, or should I just save myself, recover, and focus on the next move? Um, so that was kind of like the thing. But I was like, you know what? We're committed. And I was like, just to make it even harder, as soon as they catch, I just want to go hard again. So we're approaching the Masters field. So we do have a Masters category. They are the only other group that shares the course with us a majority of the race. So the 4-5 goes out early. They finish about 15 minutes into our race. The Masters go for an hour, and they finish about 15 minutes before we finish. Um, so right now they're just yelling, right, right, right. At this point, I'm actually super protected because the wind again is coming from my right side. So having this fill kind of protect me right here from the wind allowed me to take a longer pull, which was great too because I really wanted to make the fill work hard to come get us. So we do have a rule. There's no commingling of categories. They wear blue numbers. We wear red numbers. So it's very plain as day if people are commingling. And we've had enough drama out there with people doing it to where I think people are over it. So yeah, you notice Daniel didn't pull through. Daniel decided to wait on the group, which is totally fine. But like I said, for me, I was like super committed, man. We were out there, so decided to keep going. So you should see. I think I noticed lap cards for the Masters field. They would have a blue. Nope, not yet. Um, but yeah, we show them blue lap cards. We get red lap cards. We really try to make it crystal clear so there's no confusion because it is a little bit of organized chaos when you have multiple groups out there. But I think we've grown a lot and really listened to the riders and suggestions of how to make our event just run, seamless. For us, the day starts early with driving to the course and setting up around 2 o'clock for a 5 o'clock start, and you're not out of there until about 7:30. So it makes for a long day, but it's well worth it. We're giving something back to the community, and I think they are showing that they really appreciate our efforts. So that's why the fields are growing. Super affordable too. It's not we're not charging 60, $70. It's $20 early bird, I believe, without a late fee. I should know exactly how much it is, but it's no more than $25, even with the late fee. And yeah, we have we'll have 3 different series throughout the year. Um, this year, doing something cool too. We're actually gonna do our final race on a Saturday in the park. We rent to the park and we're gonna have a big barbecue. We're gonna have some park games right after the right after the bike race. Some food trucks, live music, and just like I like to say, just break bread. Like just really get to know, um, you know, the people that you don't really get to hang out with. We have our own circle of friends that we stick to, and this is about opening up that circle and just meeting new people that we often see on the bike but absolutely know nothing about them. So yeah, we're out there. Every time I'm in a breakout here, I have flashbacks to. I kind of touched on it earlier about 2000, between like 2006 and 2010. I was 155 pounds. I had good power, and believe it or not, I could hit out at the Eldo race and stay off the front for like the last 2 laps. I used to do it often, or hit out with like half lap to go or full lap. I won quite a few races at Eldo off the front and in the sprint. So, um, you know, I don't have those legs anymore, but mentally I think I can do it. So that helps me ride a little harder. I remember getting out the saddle right here because it hurt down there. I was a little uncomfortable probably the last 2 days of the Tour de Rouge, just spending 5 hours a day on the bike every day for 6 days really started to hurt you know the area, the taint. So yeah, it was starting to hurt right there. And I was like, man, I need to stand up and stretch a little bit, take some pressure off of that area. Um, I believe this is the lap where we're actually going to get caught. So we were out there for what, 5 laps, 4 laps? I think it was 5 laps. Doesn't sound like much, but that's over 15 minutes of going pretty hard. Um, yeah, and I believe we got caught here because we're getting down towards the end. I believe we got caught, and then we saw either 2 or 3 laps ago or something like that. Um, but in my head, I'm like, all right, look, 30 miles an hour. Like I said, this is a tailwind section, and in my head, I'm like, as soon as they catch me, I'm just gonna go hard and see what happens. Because what I was thinking is, they're already chasing, right? So the field is strung out right now, and remember we were talking about how you just got to hold on. So the people who are chasing are going to be the good riders. So if the good riders are chasing, and then you got a group, select a few holding on, what about that group that's in between that's like still good, maybe hurting a little bit, but still good? So I'm like, what if I hit it and then I take 3 or 4 more people with me that are fresher than me, motivate them to stay off the front, and kind of like the element of surprise. Yeah, so this is it, because you can see I just was like, forget it, I'm out of here. Watts shot up to about almost 800. I'm doing 7+ right now. 32 is not extremely fast because I was a little tired from being in the break, but they didn't give me any rope. As soon as they saw me taking off, the whole field was there, and so now I have really put myself in the box, right? I've been off the front, and now I just dig deep, heart rate 176. If a massive counter goes right here, I'm kind of screwed. So that was one of the guys in the break with me. I actually gave him a little shove because he was the only one who followed. But there's Julian on the front from SoCal Cycling, and I'm just like, oh God, I'm kind of hurting right here trying to get back on the wheel. Luckily, the group wasn't going that fast. Imagine if they were strung out. Yeah, it would have been bad news for me. But they didn't, so that's their bad, and I was able to get back in. So we had some drama last week. I told you when I left town, they just went crazy. The rider in the red just ahead, he's been pretty squirrely, dangerous to say the least, and we've given him multiple warnings about like how he's riding and how it's a danger to the group. Last week, he caused a crash, broken bikes. I think someone broke a collarbone. Gideon Massey, Olympian for the U.S. track sprinting, hasn't been out, I don't think, all year. He came out for 2 weeks in a row, and on the second week, he crashed, and broke his bike because of this guy. So the guy showed up to race, and we're like, man, look, we got to put you on timeout. So we had the official talk to him. Said, hey, man, you can't race. We'll refund you the money. Don't worry about it. Just we need you to calm down and respect the group. And he's basically gave us the bird and hopped in the race anyway. So, uh, being put on timeout for a week or two and not being able to race, now he's facing a suspension because he hopped in a race that we as a promoter said he wasn't allowed to do, which we have every right to refuse service. So, it went from one extreme to the next, which is unfortunate. Look, we trying to protect everyone. We can't have people out there riding crazy during the week, chopping people, riding like you're going to win $1 million at the end of the day. We're not, we're building a community here, and so we have to protect each other. So that's his bad. So, yep, there's Eli from Bros Ride Bikes sitting very far back. Talked to Andy this morning, their father, about getting ready for nationals. We also helped raise money for Jack to go to nationals. Sorry, not to nationals. With the national team to Europe. I think he's flying into Brussels, which is in Belgium, and do a stint of racing. And like I said in my Instagram post, it's disappointing. You have a national team that's supposed to be inclusive, but we had to raise $6,500 to send this kid to Europe, which is it's kind of ridiculous. But I think people are rallying behind him and really keeping their eye on what he's doing versus what the dysfunctional federation is doing. You take a kid, that's in a family that's the child is really good, and you're expecting them to pay $6,500 to go race, 10 days of racing. It's foolishness. Yeah, I'm not going to touch that too much. But, yeah, I thought I was going to attack again right here, but I got smashed in the corner. And I just was like looking around, kind of looking for another opportunity. To be real with you, the legs felt pretty good as we got deeper into the race. And I was looking just for more opportunities to make the race, one, harder, and two, to see if I can win off the front. Sharon we just contacted each other right there. He's like, how you feel? And I was like, I actually feel pretty good. He's like, all right, done deal. So the cool thing about having Sharon and Eric there tonight is that we have different strengths when it comes to the finish, but we can all finish pretty fast, and that's just like puts us in the driver's seat. And we're some of the oldest people there. Sharon is 45 plus. Eric is, I think, 45 plus. And I'm just over 40. So we're racing some youngsters, and it's kind of fun to be the old head on the podium. I recently put some ceramic speed on my bike. I did the pulleys and the bottom bracket. Shout out to Ceramic Speed on that. They say once you go ceramic, you never go back. I have to be honest, it looks great. At first, I was like, man, I don't know if I notice a difference. But I think I do notice a difference because now I've been on it for a week. I took it to Tutor Rouge. Like I said, number one, it looks great. It matches my bike pretty well. But two, all the feedback that I'm getting from people who actually do have it, they're like, I'll never go back. So, yeah. The shit's hitting the fan right here. And you could tell by body language. You could tell by how things are spaced out. So I saw gaps starting to open up. And though I didn't really want to close any gaps, I was like, do it now, do it now. Don't play around. Do it while you can. It's only like a second, 2 seconds. Just do it, because now you're going to get to 3 seconds, 4 seconds, 5 seconds. And that's how breaks happen, because you get lazy. So it's always good to see the competition going backwards. That was John Janik. He's one of the best riders out there. So seeing him go backwards, seeing the speed still high, gives you hope that, like, okay, maybe something can go down here where you could make it split. There's Austin Carroll, so even better, right? I was hoping Eric right in front of me. That's my teammate. I was hoping that he got on the gas here. Not yet, because we're still going pretty fast, 31 miles an hour. It's like, what are you going to do? It's three laps to go right now. So this is where I love the opportunists that want to just go off the front knowing that they can't, out sprint the sprinters, which is a good move. Pats, Eric, there's Brandon York. Yeah, that's a good group right there. And I can't remember what I was thinking. Like, if I was like, I think I was good with Eric being in that group. I was. I looked at all the players in that group and I was like, yeah, Eric can beat him. And so I was willing to let that group slip off the front. There's Major Bob, retired from the military, right in front of me with the LEL kit on. Super cool dude. Been around for a while. That's one of those hard-nosed guys I was talking about, along with Kenny Rogers right in front of me. Kenny technically could if he wanted to race in the Masters field, but I love that he comes out and throws everything on the table in our field. Kenny's for sure 50. I'm sure he's over 50. But on any given day, when he's good, he's good. He needs to get off that one by though. He's always dropping change. So we got 2.5 laps to go. Looks like Eli had just finished taking a chop, drinking some water there, coming back. And man, sometimes, like, I don't know, it plays into my favor a little bit when we slow down, especially if you're hurting. But tonight, on this night, I wasn't hurting, and I was wishing that, like, we had someone that just like continued to throw down, some watts, throw down the hammer, so the field stays strung out, safe, that like the sprint's going to be safe. But we kind of did like this reshuffle right here, which is okay. It happens. You sometimes you can't force the field to go fast. So as I say that, look, there it is. We pick up the pace, and this is the smoothest part of the course. And on a good day, we can go 30 plus. I've gone like 34 through here. And then, yeah, you can go hard through there, and then all of a sudden, boom, you turn this corner, and you have a block headwind with some rough roads, some sand to the left. As you see, I'm trying to get in that slipstream, in that echelon to the left, because the wind is coming off the right. I often tell people to do it, but sometimes they're like, oh, no, I'm okay. Even when I was riding to the Rouge, I was like, dude, the winds come over here is much easier. And I think it's a fear thing of overlapping wheels, and being, in that vulnerable position. But you got to realize, if we're all doing the same thing, we're all pretty equal, right? So I don't know. I'm going to just stop trying to teach everybody, and just do my thing. But here's another reshuffle. Speeds are slowing down. We are now approaching 2 laps to go. In my head, I was like, on the bail lap, on the backside after turn 1, the rough section, I want to go there. And from there to the finish line is probably like a 90-second effort. And I was like, if I can hold like 550, 600 for 30 seconds, and then do the next 60 seconds at like 450, I think I can make it, to the finish line. So in my head, that's what I'm setting up for. I'm like, I'm in a good position right now. I'm not using a lot of energy. Look at my heart rate, 147. I'm primed, right? I'm ready to go. Like, heart rate's low, speeds are right up my alley. As soon as they slow down, I'm gonna hit out, and I'm gonna try to make it to the finish line solo. The cool thing about doing that too, I got Eric and Sharon behind, so they're not gonna chase me. At least they shouldn't be chasing me. And so whoever chases, if they put themselves in the right position, boom. If I get caught, they win the race. And so, like I said, for a bunch of old guys, we actually oftentimes are in the driver's seat. So yeah, this is would it be a lap and a half to go? We just saw 2 laps ago. I got to get my cameras working. It'd be cool to see what's going on behind me, but I'm always having issues with them, which sucks because I got 4 of them. So what do I do with these 4? And I ain't going out and buying 4 more new ones. Too expensive. Got kids to feed. If you got any questions, concerns, whatever, just drop some comments below. I'll do my best to answer all of them. And yeah, just have a conversation. This is about uplifting our cycling community, making sure that we're safe and we learn from each other. I'm always learning. I've been racing bikes for a long time, and even when I come out here to Eldo, I'm always learning something. I don't know it all, and I'm always learning something about myself, learning something about my competition, paying attention to their mannerism, to their how they click their knee when they're tired, perhaps. So always learning, and I think that's important too. Even learning how to maneuver through the course. I always tell people that you don't just go in circles. Each lap, each corner, you should be learning something about how you're gonna win the race. It can't just be la 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 la. Okay, I'll sprint. Here's a good example. That crash, which I actually want to do a video on, the crash with Legion at Spartanburg during Speed Week, that involved Robin Carpenter and Ty Magner. Yeah, it was a BS move, 100%. I don't care what anybody says, but I would be 100% not transparent if I say a lot of that had to do with Legion and how they did the train. I think some of it was a bit of arrogance, and being the team captain and Justin, I blame a lot of that on him. Ain't no way in hell I'm letting anybody come underneath my train like that as a sprinter. I'm closing the door before he even gets a chance to do it. So, a lot of that boils down to they're the best, and sometimes you get complacent, and you can't get complacent. They got complacent in the lead out, thought no one would have the balls to go underneath them, and he did, and that's what happened. So the back of that train is the leader, and the back of that train was Justin, being the sprinter. He's got to close the door on that, but he was so focused on that turn, he forgot or thought no one, like I said, would have the balls to do it, and so that had a lot to do with why that crash occurred. But anyway, I'll touch on that video a little later when I have some time. This is Bell Lap. So at this point, I'm still in for going early. I still want to go early, but it has to happen at the right time. We can't be going 33 miles an hour. What I'm gonna do, go 38? No. So it has to be this kind of like hesitation within the group. Even this is still too fast. If we drop down to maybe like 26, 27, I wanted to then launch from the back using my momentum and try to carry that speed to the finish. But we didn't really do that. So here's Sharon moving up because he's going to help me. So actually we did. So maybe my legs are just bad. Okay, keep in mind, this was like a few days ago. So we did slow down, and it would have been a good time to do it. I'm a little boxed in right here, and I'm not going to force the issue to try to get out and cause that move. Fuck, we did do it. 25, 24. Maybe I wasn't as good as I thought. So yeah, I guess I just decided to sit. Brandon did it, which is a big task, and I'm telling you, it's hard to do. Look at the gap they just opened up, and I'm still not really tripping that they'll make it to the finish. I think that we can catch them. Especially we have Sharon, we have Eric, and we have like a host of other teams who didn't just go up there. So right now it's about, in a sense, like you're calling their bluff, right? Everybody's kind of looking at each other. I don't know much about the rider from the UK who's on the front, so I was kind of happy to see him pulling at this moment. There's another attack by Kenny Rogers on the far right, and that really got everything going because up to that point, we weren't really doing anything. So I want to stay on Chevron with Techron's wheel. But then what happens is we get pushed a little bit too far to the front. The sprint is not long, but it's hard. It's heavy. I feel like it's almost like you feel like you're on a false flat for a long time. So right now, what are you thinking? get through this corner safely. You can't win if you're on the ground. So you do everything you can do right here to get through this corner safely. All right, boom, we did that. Now put yourself in a position to make sure that the wind is out of your way. Sharon goes to the front right here. And instead of following, because I knew I was too far forward, I'm kind of looking. All right, I'm about 10 guys back, but in reality, I'm only about 5 guys back because 2-3 of those guys are going to pull off from doing the lead out. So now that pushes me forward. All you're doing right here is kind of watching for the swarm, kind of watching, feeling, watching, feeling, watching, feeling. And now I'm on the front, right? For the most part, there's 3 guys in front of me. It's a good spot. I'm kind of looking, judging where I'm going to start my sprint. I'm looking, feeling pretty good. I feel someone on my hip, and I'm like, nah, they're not going to do it. And so I kind of move left a little bit, but not far enough. And Jason, which is, I think he's won at least 2 or 3 times out here, goes to the front. And then if Austin could have gotten me pinned, Austin was to my right, he could have really pinned me in and stopped my momentum for a while. But once I was able to get my bars in front of him, I was able to step on the pedals and cross the line first and have a victory. So yeah,